Hello and welcome to another episode of Raw Politics. Let me begin by stating that I rarely do videos or comment on any platform about murders. And this has everything to do with the fact that I know the pain of losing somebody through not natural causes, but murder. In some cases, very brutal ones. So because of that, I rarely talk about murders, whether it is a trending topic, whether it is something that people are running hashtags or demanding justice, etc. I rarely join that. It doesn't matter which side is happening, because I have this belief, ladies and gentlemen, that at times we become insensitive. We don't empathize enough. We end up becoming experts on why so-and-so died, who killed them, for what purposes. And this, as somebody who has been in this situation, is the most painful part of grieving, where you meet conflicting info about why your loved one was killed, and accusations after accusations, and misinformation upon misinformation. So the first reason why I rarely comment about matters murder is because I've had the unfortunate experience of losing loved ones through murder. But the second reason, and this is very important, is because in Kenya, we have reached a level where nothing is out of bounds. We can even use the gruesome murder, the pain of another family, to settle political scores. That is why in this country, somebody dies, even before the family is notified, there are people already running hashtags. There are people already with t-shirts. They want to capitalize on the misfortune of another family. And unfortunately for me, I have not graduated to that level where I can comfortably use the misfortune or the murder or the loss of life of someone to settle political scores. I am persuaded there are so many ways I can do politics without actually having to hide behind the pain of another man or another woman. But then now you may be wondering, why are you making this video then? Well, this video is a response to a request from one of you who asked me to talk about Deputy Inspector General Eliud Langat. And the question was simple. Should Eliud Langat resign, or should he stay put? Having said that, I will try my level best to remain very sensitive throughout this video, because I know there is a family that has lost a breadwinner. There are relatives that will never see their loved one again. I also know we have politicians who are shamelessly capitalizing on that. So let us begin with who is Eliud Langat. Eliud Langat is a police officer who has served for over 25 years. He is fairly educated. He has a master's from Nairobi University. Until very recently, nobody knew about him, save for people who are keen on matter security. The general public did not know about who Eliud Langat was. Initially, he was with the CID, then he was with the GSU, even rose to the point that in 2023, he was the commander of the General Service Unit. When Kanja, the current Inspector General, was promoted to the position of the Inspector General. After Koome resigned, Eliud Langat was promoted to be one of the Deputy Inspector Generals. The other one is Masengeli, who is the Deputy Inspector General in charge of the Administration Police Service, which means that Eliud Langat is in charge of the day-to-day running of Kenya Police Service, while Masengeli is in charge of the day-to-day running of Administration Police Service. As you know, Kenya Police Service has over 70 members, whereas the Administration Police Service is about 20,000 or thereabout. So by the virtue of being in charge of the Kenya Police Service, Bwana Langat is very powerful. He's in a very powerful position. So when did we start hearing about Eliud Langat? Remember, I told you that, save for those who are keen on matters security or police officers, majority of Kenyans didn't know Eliud Langat. Well, Eliud Langat came to the fore through Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua has done several pressers, and in each of these pressers, whenever he blames the police, he has categorically blamed Eliud Langat. According to Rigathi Gachagua, and you can watch his latest presser, according to Rigathi Gachagua, Eliud Langat is leading a death squad made up of about 20 Kalenjin police officers. And Rigathi was very categorical that the death squad is exclusively made up of the Kalenjin police officers. And their work, I quote Rigathi still, is to deal with Ruto's opponents, be they political opponents or just normal critics. The work of this unit, according to Rigathi, a unit that is being led by Eliud Langat, according to Rigathi, is to deal with political dissent, meaning that if you oppose Ruto, this team will come for you. And according to Rigathi, this team exclusively reports to the president. The idea is that Langat does not even report to his boss, the Inspector General, Bwana Kanja. Now, that is when the nation was told about Langat. Okay, that is when Langat gained some popularity. And as you know, in Kenya, immediately Rigathi does give these accusations, his so-called Gen Zs on social media will now start trolling you moving forward. And Langat was no exception. So there were trolls, there were accusations upon accusations everywhere on social media platforms, especially X, former Twitter. And so it is said that Langat filed a complaint with police that he was being unfairly targeted and his image was being tarnished unnecessarily. So using the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act, Langat complained to police. And I'm just giving you a chronology of how things happened. And the police made a decision to arrest a number of people. One of them was the late Ojwang from Kasipul. Now, what happened is, this is what the police told us. Ojwang and others were brought to Nairobi because the cybercrime division is said to be in Nairobi. And so it would have been easier for them. I'm just reporting what they were saying. It would have been easier for them to do forensic search on the gadgets and other things from Nairobi. Well, CID says that they did pick the person, brought him to Nairobi, and booked him at Central Police Station. The unfortunate thing happened. The following day, this person was now dead. According to postmortem, it appears, that is what the pathologist said, that his wounds and whatever finding they had were consistent with assault. It means that this guy was tortured and then was tortured and murdered. In fact, they are saying that he was somehow strangled. And so it is a brutal murder, meaning the gentleman did not have it easy. He was brutalized and then unalived. A very painful thing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is what happened. That is what is in the public domain. What followed was interesting because as the family was still coming to terms with what had happened to their son, there were already people with t-shirts and the placards of Ruto must go. Even before the Inspector General of Police gave his statement, there were people already printing t-shirts and anti-Ruto placards. So for them, this was an opportunity to play politics under the gaze of justice. I don't want to say that was a wrong move because I can't claim to have the marking scheme of what moves are supposed to be made. But in my opinion, it looked so planned. Within a short time, there are people already with the t-shirts of Ojwang demanding justice and singing Ruto must go and promising that this is it. This is now what they are going to use to send Ruto home. Like I said, I don't want to say that that was not the way to do things. Perhaps these people are actually after justice, and agitations and demos and all this perhaps is the way to go. What followed is that majority of the people who commented, be they politicians at Senate or National Assembly, be they activists or analysts on our national TVs, it appeared that they wanted DIG Langat Eliud gone. People were insisting that he has to resign, that is the only way there will be some semblance of justice. But before that, remember, these same activists insisted that they wanted the names of the officers that were manning Central Station on the fateful night. And I don't want you to miss this. This is where it becomes political, unfortunately. The demand was clothed as an accountability issue, meaning they wanted to know who participated or mishandled the late Albert Ojwang at the Central Police Station. They wanted that list. And okay, that was fair. Though it is not the norm for police to release the list of officers for purposes of security anyway, but it was a public demand. The demand was, we want to know the names of the officers that were there. Interestingly, ladies and gentlemen, and this is why I say it became political, unfortunately, and very sad. When the list came out of the officers that were in charge that night, and they realized that the list was not made up of Kalenjins, as expected, guess what happened? Now, all of a sudden, the members in that list are innocent people who are being used as scapegoats. You are taken aback. I thought you wanted accountability, and that is why you are demanding for the list of officers who are handling that station. Now, all of a sudden, because they don't have the candidate names you are expecting, they are now innocent people who are being used as scapegoat. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what annoys me mostly with us as a people. We are too insensitive to families who go through a lot. For us, everything is politics. Imagine the father of the late watching you demand the names of officers, believing that it is about accountability, that you want to know who was this reckless officer or officers that saw this guy dying in a police cell. And then you're given names, and you find it is a Karaoke, it is a Wanjiru, it is Angara. And now that does not work for you. Because according to you, you had been told plainly that Eliud Langat, who was the complainant, leads a death squad made up of Kalenjin police officers. And so you are pushing so that the names will vindicate what Rigadi was saying. And when the names come out contrary to your expectation, now all of a sudden, these people are innocent. No investigation. You don't want now them to be investigated. No. They are innocent scapegoats. Now what you want is DIG Langat to resign. He should go home. And two, you now have another theory. The guy was removed from the cell, went and got tortured somewhere else, and then brought back to the cell dead. But even if that was the case, we will still have officers who are at that place who saw the person being picked and the person being returned dead. There are people who are manning that office. So you are saying that one of the theory is he was brought to the cell, Langat's death squad came and picked him, went and tortured him and killed him, and then returned him to the cell. Another one is the guy perhaps was tortured on the road and brought to the station dead. Yet, the CIDs are saying that the suspect, Ojwang then, the late, came with them to Nairobi and was speaking with family and friends until he was booked at Central Police Station. These are theories that come because the narrative doesn't work. And so what is the narrative, ladies and gentlemen? I told you that as a country, we have no boundaries, and anything can be used to achieve selfish ends. So here you have the death of a Kenyan, and people who ostensibly are mourning and are demanding justice demand for a list of officers, and when they find they don't come from the community they were targeting, they change that these people are innocent and should be let go. Actually, they are scapegoats. Okay, so what was the narrative? The narrative was Ruto, Kipchumba Murkomen, DIG, and his 20 Kalenjin officers, according to Rigathi, from the sub-tribe of Nandi, those Ruto being a Nandi, from the sub-tribe of Nandi, are out there to kill Kenyans. They were abducting Kikuyus, and now they are killing Luos. Sadly, they are using the loss, the misfortune of another person. But that is the nature of Kenya politics. People are shameless. They don't care. People care about what works for them. My prayer is that the family gets a closure. They get to know why or who killed their son. And whoever did this gets to pay the price of taking the life of another person just because they wanted maybe to instill fear or to settle political scores. Whatever it was, my hope is justice. So does this justice involve the resignation of Eliud Langat? I have two views. If it is just a criminal process where all that is aimed at is to get to the bottom of what happened, then Eliud Langat, holding the position he is holding, has the ability to interfere with investigations. And as such, it wouldn't hurt if he stepped aside as investigations were going on. Not resign, stepped aside. Because until to date, Eliud Langat's only involvement is that he was a complainant. It is the same as I would go today to report you to the police and say that you are infringing on my rights. Perhaps you are destroying my property, or you've taken my sheep or stolen my what. So the police decide to arrest you. Now, when the police arrest you and you end up dying in custody, it is very difficult to come and blame me. However, it is different when the person who complained is the head of that police. Because then, if they are going to do investigation, most of the officers who do the investigation are reporting to that DIG. If he's a person of interest, if they are investigating whether he was involved in the killing of this person, as people allege, there are people who are alleging that he was directly involved, they picked this person from the cell, went and killed him. If that is the case, and let's say the only hope, the only target, the only reason why people want him gone, people want him to step aside is so that it does not interfere with the process of investigation and finally getting justice for Albert Ojwang, then I agree that Eliud Langat should step aside. But I said I had two views. The other view is, now that it seems that politics has taken over, like I told you, when they found the names did not match what they expected, they declared these officers innocent and scapegoats. No investigation, nobody has taken their statements, just the fact that their names did not match the Kalenjin list they had. That means they're innocent. And when you're dealing with politics, then it is different. Now you don't go with ideal, you go with real. Because if it is politics, then the entire strategy has nothing to do with getting justice to Ojwang. No. The entire strategy has everything to get rid of a Kalenjin Deputy Inspector General. And in that case, ladies and gentlemen, if he resigned or if he stepped aside, he will be playing into their plan. In that case, you can't support him to resign. That case, they wait for the investigation. If it is proven that he is actually involved, he goes to court, he goes to jail. But he stays put, because if it is political, then if you give these people what they want, they will be after the IG, Kalenjin. The next thing they will be after is Kipchumba Murkomen, because that is how Rigathi listed them. Rigathi said it is Ruto, Kipchumba Murkomen, and the IG. He passed. He deliberately passed the IG because the IG is not a Kalenjin. And the other DIG is also not a Kalenjin. So the Kalenjin thing, Kalenjins are very evil. Kalenjins are very bad people. Kalenjins are the worst people in this country. That narrative can only run if it is William Ruto, Murkomen, and then a Kalenjin DIG. And people below him must also be Kalenjin. In that case, ladies and gentlemen, I repeat, if it is that politics, if the aim is to just get rid of a Kalenjin from police force, then he shouldn't resign. That is my opinion. I don't know what you think. I hope I didn't step on any toes. Like I said, these are not subjects I usually like talking about because there's a family that is hurting badly. And I also know there are people who are shamelessly taking advantage of this to settle political scores, which is something that has become a habit in the country, and there is nothing we can do about it. That is how Kenyans are. There's nothing you can do to change that. That is what I wanted to say, ladies and gentlemen. If you found value in this video, let me know in the comment section. Or if you have a different view on this, you can just share in the comment section. Whatever your opinion is, feel free, share it in the comment section. And if you found value in this video, like I said, don't forget to like it and share it with friends. Otherwise, in case you missed my video on abductions, watch it here.